This is Alice Springs, known for being the town in the middle of the Australian outback, famous for its Aboriginal culture and nearby landmarks and sceneries such as Uluru. However, it is also known as Australia's most dangerous town.
A heavy police presence is on the ground in Alice Springs tonight, where a curfew is entering its second night.
In a bid to curb the escalating crime.
The Red Centre has captured the country's attention for all the wrong reasons.
And in January of 2023, I had the experience of visiting Alice Springs for myself. So Alice Springs is the second largest town in the state of the Northern Territory. It's located slap bang in the middle of Australia. And over recent years, the crime problem in Alice Springs has pretty much got out of control. In a 2024 study, Alice Springs was actually rated the 18th most dangerous town in the world and the most dangerous town in the country of Australia. Alice Springs, which has a population of 25 to 30,000 people, has an incredibly high crime rate for a town of its size. So high, in fact, that in 2024 they actually put a curfew on under 18s leaving the house after a certain time because the problem had got that bad. And today I'm going to talk about my experience visiting Alice Springs. Was there any dramas? Is it as bad as everyone says it is? And yeah, just share my experience of about 5 days that I spent in the town of Alice Springs. And let me tell you, it was definitely an experience which I won't forget, that's for sure. So we got a coach up from Adelaide to Alice Springs. It was about a 22-hour coach, or 20 hours or something. It was the longest coach ever. And you really got to see the scale of Australia and how far Alice Springs really is from everything. You wouldn't think that a town so remote would have such issues, but yeah, we got a 20-hour coach. That's how long it took us. And for anyone who knows Australia, there is nothing in the outback at all. Alice Springs is by far the biggest town in the sort of center of the outback. There really isn't much near it at all. So our initial thoughts of arriving in Alice Springs was very, very quiet. The coach pulled up in the center of the town and there was nothing really going on. We were staying just the other side of the Todd River from the main town of Alice Springs in an area called Desert Springs, which was a lot more quiet. There really wasn't many people there at all. Alice Springs as a town, generally from what I had heard, is quite popular for tourists, particularly going out to Uluru. I got the impression like there would be a fair amount of tourists in the town. But from the day we arrived, we felt very, very isolated. Our hostel, which we were staying in, was pretty much empty. I'm pretty sure when we actually moved in, we were the only people in the hostel. Walking around the town, we went out to explore that first day and instantly we got a bit of a bad vibe. It just felt unsafe. There was a vibe in the air that didn't feel that nice. We didn't see any other travelers around at all. There were lots and lots of Aboriginals around the streets. I'm pretty sure there were points walking around the town where we were the only white people in the whole area. The streets were literally just filled with Aboriginals drinking, shouting, driving around fast in cars, screaming at each other. Like it was pretty crazy, to be honest. And this was the middle of the day. Oh yeah, it felt dodgy. It definitely felt dodgy. I was with my girlfriend and yeah, she did feel a bit on edge. I think I felt a bit on edge as well. I definitely wanted to keep her safe, and I think after that first day, I think we got a little bit of food and pretty much just headed straight back to the hostel because we were very tired after a coach. The last thing we wanted was to have to deal with any drama in the town. I'm pretty sure we got a Subway. The Subway was absolutely disgusting. It was absolutely destroyed. The town, it's rough. It's all smashed up. The Subway just had shit absolutely everywhere. We didn't do much on that first day. We just decided to get back to the hostel because yeah, we didn't want to deal with any drama. On our second day in Alice Springs, we decided to do a few hikes out of the town. We did something called the Telegraph Station Walk, which is a pretty cool hike you can do. Go up to some nice viewpoints and see out across the outback, see the amazing landscapes out there. And we had an interesting experience there. We were coming back from the viewpoint and a police officer comes sprinting down the road and he's like, "Oh, I'm looking for this guy," described this man, and apparently like the police were out searching for him. That was the first kind of warning sign we maybe had, first kind of little scare, little interesting thing that happened. They were obviously searching for some guy out there who was running around crazy. I don't know what the story was, but that was our first kind of sign of like, oh yeah, there's criminals out here. Getting back to Alice Springs, we had a look around the shopping centre, which was, again, I've never seen security like it. Pretty much multiple shops had armed police officers standing on the doors. The shopping centre itself was rough. It smelled awful. It was really rough. I've never seen so many shops with police officers, armed police stood on the doors. All of the alcohol shops had armed police stood on the door. There was a time in Alice Springs where we decided to have a few drinks back at our hostel, so we bought a bottle of rum from one of the alcohol shops, and I have never ever experienced security like that. We were getting questioned by the police on the door. Where are you going to drink this alcohol? Where are you taking it? You can't be drinking this on the streets. You have to go right back to your hostel. Armed police like giving us a full, we must have been there for a few minutes getting questioned by these police officers, checking our passports just to buy some alcohol. The alcohol problem in Alice Springs is very bad, and it was noticeable when we were there, to be honest. All of the people, like everyone in the town, was just sat drinking on the streets, in the riverbed drinking. And yeah, I never experienced anything like it, buying alcohol, having such secure, like, alcohol laws in Australia are stricter than the UK, but I'd never experienced laws that strict with buying alcohol. We went to wash our clothes one day in a laundrette in the centre of the town, and let me tell you, we had to keep an eye on our clothes for the entire time we were there, because the whole vibe did not feel safe at all. It felt like our stuff could get robbed at any minute, and it was a place where I felt like we always had to have our head on the swivel. Walking around the town, it always felt like our head was on the swivel. You never felt relaxed really walking around the town. It did feel really dodgy. Going out of the town and stuff, doing the hikes, it's a lot nicer. There's not as much to worry about out there. We did go to Uluru on one of the days. That was a full day experience, and that was one of the most memorable experiences ever. Uluru is actually about a 5-hour drive from Alice Springs, so you really get out of the town. And yeah, that was an incredible experience. We got back to the town late that night, and I'm pretty sure I remember from the tour they just recommended us going straight back to our hostel, because Alice Springs town at night is not recommended at all. I know the violent crime and mobs of people at night is 10 times worse than in the day. I'm not gonna lie, it felt kind of unsafe in the day. I can't actually imagine what it would be like at night. I've seen so many videos of riots, people smashing up pubs, just mobs and mobs of people running through the street causing chaos. It's yeah, it's pretty mad. I'm glad we didn't go out at night. If I was with my friends, I still probably wouldn't have, to be honest, but with my girlfriend, I definitely wasn't gonna put her in that situation. She definitely didn't want to go out there at night, and we didn't have a reason to be honest, apart from to see it. But from what we'd heard, it was best to avoid the town centre at night for sure. I knew that the population of Alice Springs did have a large population of Aboriginals, but from my experience walking around the town, it did feel very interesting being pretty much the only white people. It was rare, to be honest, apart from when we did the tours and stuff and went out to a few more touristy places, then you'd see tourists. But walking around the town, it did feel a bit uneasy. You could tell that we stood out, and I think we'd get a lot of looks walking around the town. And I think naturally anyone, especially if you're with your girlfriend or something, which, you know, you don't want anything to kick off, of course, when you're the only white people in the town and you're getting a lot of strange looks, a town that's known massively for violent crime, it did feel definitely uneasy. I don't know if there's many stories of issues against tourists or anything there. I don't know if they're just, you know, people there are more frustrated with the government and stuff. I'm not sure what the whole story is with the reason the crime's so bad and stuff. I don't know. I don't think it's that unsafe for tourists. I mean, I still would be very careful. I wouldn't be going around there at night, but I don't think it's too bad for tourists. I think a lot of the time, if you're a tourist, you're gonna be safe, but I would still be careful for sure. So would I recommend visiting Alice Springs? Now, honestly, I would say yes. I would recommend visiting, but you've got to know what to expect. A lot of people, before I heard about the crime and stuff in Alice Springs, I thought it was this nice, peaceful outback town. It's all gonna be nice. You know what I mean? It's in the middle of the outback. It would just be cool. But then I researched it and realized how bad the crime and stuff was. You need to know what to expect when you're visiting Alice Springs. However, if you're looking for an interesting experience, somewhere very interesting to learn about culture and really see a different place, I would definitely recommend visiting Alice Springs. Definitely be careful, avoid the town at night, but you can have a very good experience. And honestly, after traveling a lot of Australia, I would say the Outback and Alice Springs in particular was actually one of the most memorable experiences from my whole time in Australia. A lot of the time, the amazing beaches and stuff, they're amazing and they're the best time, but it's not always where the best stories come from. So if you're looking to make some stories and see somewhere interesting, then I would definitely recommend visiting Alice Springs, but just know what you're getting yourself into. You do need to be careful. Another thing that I forgot to mention is when we got the coach through the Outback, again, I think there might have been one other white person on the coach. We pulled up to this Outback town, somewhere between Adelaide and Alice Springs, it must have been about 1 in the morning. We were like dozing off. The next thing, everyone's up in the coach, like everyone's up looking out the windows. The next thing you know, I look out the window and there's 50 to 100 like Aboriginals outside the coach. They're all banging on the windows. Everyone in the coach is shouting back out at them. And we were just in the coach like, what is going on? All shouting at each other. That was the first point in the journey to the Outback that felt a bit dodgy, that I felt, right, this feel a little bit on edge here. We got the Greyhound coach, and I think quite a lot of people use it to actually get between Adelaide and Alice Springs and Darwin as well. And it was, yeah, that was the first point, particularly it being about 1 in the morning, where we're half asleep as well. That was the first point where I was like, yeah, this feels a bit dodgy here. But overall, we escaped Alice Springs without any major issues. The vibe felt unsafe, but luckily we didn't actually encounter any incidents really. So I do think it's relatively safe for tourists, but I would just, yeah, be aware. So if you have any questions about Alice Springs, leave them down in the comments. If you've been there yourself, feel free to leave some comments about your experience and how you found it. I hear mixed things about Alice Springs. Some people go there and say they loved it and didn't feel unsafe at all. Other people say they would never go back because they felt very unsafe. I think it does depend on your experience. I loved my experience there, however, it did feel unsafe, but yeah, I think a lot of people will find that's the case for them. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and feel free to subscribe to the channel to hear more stories like this, and also some more advice on moving to Australia and traveling around as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.